What is going on, fellow alchemists? Welcome to Astrology. I hope you're all doing alright, and today we are talking about moon in the 4th house. But firstly, just a quick warning. I noticed a lot of people who come to my videos come expecting mundane astrology or mundane astrology interpretations, and whilst that is very important, I believe, I always like to address the esoteric concepts of these houses and of the signs. So if you're into the esoteric concepts, and I'll try and merge in as much as I do the mundane concepts of astrology, then stick with this one and let's get into it. It is the moon in the 4th house. So the moon in the 4th house, what does this mean if you have your moon placed here? Well, let's address the 4th house firstly. The 4th house is traditionally ruled over by Cancer. Cancer is an angular cardinal house. This is the angular cardinal water sign. So in the 4th house, we see the angular cardinal nature of the house itself. This is part of the cardinal cross of matter. Now, for anyone who wonders what that is, in esoteric astrology, the cardinal cross refers to the point in which we have left the fixed cross of matter. The fixed cross is our basic instinctual animalistic behavior, and now we stepped into the cardinal cross with the attempt to finally find moksha or emancipation and leave the cardinal cross and completely leave the scale of reincarnation. So with the cardinal cross, we find the ability to finally act upon the universe in our full expression. So every time we're dealing with the cardinal cross or the angular houses, this is where we find the ability to finally make our act of penance and finally inflict some sort of action or inflict some sort of consequence on the universe, hopefully for the better and for the improvement of humanity, rather than for the detriment and the detriment of the collective as a whole. So then the idea is that we pass through into emancipation and we pass through into moksha, and we find our ability to go into the higher ascending arc of spirit, and through that process acquire a connection with the more ethereal realms that are beyond our physical plane of existence. So what happens is that the moon, the 4th house, and in particular Cancer, is where we find the collective consciousness, but we also find the solidification or the personification of creation. So what we find here is that the creation has now found its role through Aries, which is the spark, through Taurus, which is the perfection of creation, and then through the 3rd house or Gemini, which is all about exploring the definition of creation itself, exploring itself and understanding its expression, and going into other aspects, trying to meld in the mercurial nature of that expression into the 3rd and into Gemini. And when we get into the 4th house, now that we have accumulated all of that, we've gone through the angular, we've gone through the succedent, and we've gone through the cadent houses, we've gone through the cardinal, we've gone through the fixed, and we've gone through the mutable houses. We now come into the 4th house, which again is an angular house, but this is all about the power of generation into physical form. This is where we find the personification of our soul's physical existence in this physical realm. And so what happens in the 4th house is, this is why in the 4th house we always assume that this is about the ideology, the way we brought up, the Imum Coeli, the structure, the foundation, because we need structure and foundation. But we also need to base it on the collective consciousness, because those that are around us are the ones who mold and form us as we grow up. This is the environmental influences. So that's what the 4th house is all about. It's the Imum Coeli, and whilst in mundane astrology it is about how you're brought up, the kind of, were you brought up in a conservative family, were you brought up in a more dynamic liberal family, the idea is that this is the point in which your soul has found a place for it to fully to concrete its existence and basically find its placement in the concept of the physical existence or the physical realm that we reside in. So when you have the moon, remember the moon in esoteric astrology, depending on which side you're using, if you're using Vedic astrology, the moon is Chandra, which is a very physical male deity. And in tropical astrology, Western astrology, it's a feminine energy. And the idea is that here we see that the moon is all about casting casting emotions on you. So it's a point of, in mundane astrology or in low vibrational astrology, what we see is the moon is about reaction and emotion. Because our emotions are reactions to something that happens. The moon, in that sense, lives in the past because we're reacting to something that's already happened. We're reacting to something that's already been, or we're reacting to the idea of something that might happen, but it's the idea that comes before the reaction that comes, and then comes the emotions that back them up. So that's why in very low vibrational or very basic astrology, mundane astrology, it always deals with our reaction and our emotion. But on an esoteric level, this is the point of the lunar channels. This is where we finally, through a process of working with this energy, find our way through the very basic mundane lower vibrational effects of the moon, and we find our access into the ethereal concepts, or the higher, more vibrational concepts of consciousness that vibrate not just so much on our plane but on many different planes altogether. So this is a very good way of entering into the fourth house and entering into the fourth house energy that comes out, which is a very powerful, very focused, very cardinal nature of energy, regardless of what's sitting on top of it, like in regards to what star sign sitting on top of it. This is all about the ability for the moon to mesh in the concepts of verified reality. So where we find ourselves forming ourselves in the physical form in the fourth house, at the same time what we're trying to do is connect with the conceptual idea of the fourth house and broaden that, so that we are able to interact with the world as a whole rather than a singular individual. So the moon gives the opportunity to use, instead of seeing this very individual, independent type of concept of the fourth house coming into creation and finally the personification of creation, what the moon is trying to do in the fourth house a lot of the time is it's trying to allow the access for you to enter into the collective consciousness, because Cancer is about the collective consciousness. Cancer, again, it rules over the fourth house, and this is about the collective consciousness, and this is about your ability with moon here to kind of engrave yourself into that concept, engrave yourself into the ideas, the higher ideals, the higher philosophies of the collective consciousness as a whole. And this can make you a beacon, this can make you stand out, this can make and bring you a very strong ability to be the veil, or to be the channel that people use in order to access more of the ethereal spiritual concepts of consciousness, rather than the very mundane, very practical concepts of lower vibrational astrology or lower vibrational life. So fellow alchemists, I hope you really enjoyed that video. Please don't forget to subscribe if you did. Drop a like down below. Go into the comment section down below. Tell us what it's like having this placement in your chart for you. And I'll see you in the next one when I do the moon in the 5th house. So until next time, take very good care and goodbye.